This world is classified as tubular, and it has 3 pivotal components to it that all help perform a role in helping life and function find a place within it. One of these components is the Jeju, and it is the centerpiece of the world. Acting as a distributor, it produces an energy called Abdon, which takes the form of waves to start a cycle to sustain and create life. Abdon waves vibrate tempestuously, cracking and eventually snapping the prong of the Jeju, causing a halt on energy flow. The Neju, aware of the broken prong, quickly assesses the issue by implanting a new prong, not allowing even a small amount of energy to be wasted. As this happens, the broken prong falls closer to the center of the Jeju to get absorbed, recycling the piece. This gelatinous bubble acts as a coating for the Neju, storing prongs as well as supporting life within it. Black bubbles that find their way here are dissolved to create the murky atmosphere. The Sculptor, an essential inhabitant within the Neju. Here, in the murky atmosphere, energy is accessible all around, allowing the Sculptor to follow an evolutionary line where mobility is unnecessary. Sculptors are natural artists. As they consume enough energy, defecation occurs, and large masses are slowly produced. These are then made into what will soon be a prong for the Neju to inject into the Jeju. The prongs, sturdily built from the Sculptor, grow weak and snap over time due to an infestive creature known as the Aphite. The burrower of the gelatinous bubble, the Aphite, will stop at nothing to get through the prong for an all-you-can-eat buffet. Aphites in swarms can hollow an entire prong and use it as shelter to lay their young. As a prong gets injected, the Aphites can no longer sustain outside of their murky home and will perish. Life for the world tubular does not stop there. The Jeju produces Abdon energy in the form of waves, but where do the waves go? The lucent float, the second component to tubular system of functionality. The wave energy dispersed to the lucent float is grabbed by its own prongs and spun around vigorously as it turns the intangible wave energy into a new form of energy called fluff. This new fluff energy is collected to be absorbed by the lucent float so it may flow energy throughout its cords, causing them to coil up with tension. The prongs of the lucent float can get overwhelmed with the abundance of waves constantly being deployed, causing fluff to gather exponentially. So that is where the lucent scrunch comes in. Starting at the base of the prongs, the lucent scrunch tightens and removes the excess fluff, cleaning it to continue energy flow through the lucent float. Here the lucent scrunch harbors the fluff, revealing a new ecosystem swimming with life. Acting as dense cover, fluff holds many life forms within it, each one using fluff as a strategic advantage for survival. The propelled waddle, for example, utilizes fluff to create camouflage. However, fluff is not enough for a successful camouflage to hide from adapted predators. Instead, the propelled waddle has a trick up its sleeve. Sucking in fluff, it regurgitates bubbles to create a much more dense coating of protection and camouflage. The propelled waddle has successfully hidden itself within the fluff and is safe, for now. Some creatures live much simpler lives, with no predators or competition for energy. The boider simply feeds off of fluff that dissolves through the scrunch. Compressing itself against the inside surface of the scrunch, it prepares for feeding time. The boider is ready. With suctions, it springs itself forward, catching any remnants of fluff energy dissolved within the scrunch, while filtering any non-nutrients through its pores. After it gets through a meal, it finds another surface to suction from, to eventually wait for its next meal. Fluff collected via the lucent flot will flow through the coils within it to be converted to a new form of energy, flash. As enough energy builds through the coils, flash is produced, flooding the inside and outside of the lucent flot with light. However, the coils can get tangled, which can be dire if not remedied within the system. This is where the sew comes in. With excellent precision, the sew amputates the coil, untangling any knots it feels. As this happens, flash energy is flooding into the sew, offering an energy source for the life within it. An eerie silence fills the entire inside of the sew. And with such darkness, life would seem moribund here. This is not the case. An oxic can be found here. As the oxic absorbs flash, it produces a bioluminescent chemical stored in boils surrounding the surface of its body. As boils expand with bioluminescent chemical, they burst, causing the chemical to escape and float upward. The popped boil will take a while to heal, so another boil will take its place on the oxic. The chemical, however, lights up the environment until it gets collected by another creature, the dorm. For energy, absorbing the oxic's chemical, the only source of light, is also the only nutrients a dorm can rely on. However, the dark smoke it excretes is what forms the very ecosystem it's a part of, as well as provide propulsion for the sew when maneuvering around the lucent flot. Without the dorm, life would fall silent and be moribund. The production and transformation of Abdon energy has gone through many cycles, yet Flash is not where this production line ends. The final component to Tubular is the respite. Residing on the surface of the lucent flot, multiple respites take in flash and produce a new final form of Abdon energy, blow-up energy. Compression is key for the respite's production of blow-up, as well as its distribution throughout Tubular. Once inflated, the blow-up energy will detach and flow outwards, away from the center of Jeju. A SMAP approaches. Sometimes the respite needs a little help, so the SMAP will compress the respite for it and continue the energy assembly line. As it does this, an ecosystem on the SMAP and respite benefit from this compression. This is a Bloise. Having no true form, it is unsure if anything is really needed for the Bloise to sustain itself. As a Bloise moves along the top of a respite, it produces a ball of nutrients that gets smashed by the SMAP. The SMAP reveals a colony of creatures on its surface. They are the Geons. And when a ball of nutrients gets smashed into it, this is its way of absorbing energy. The flap will detach itself from the respite to pinch off blow-up energy, struggling to detach. Inside the respite, we find an interesting set of creatures called Scythaloids. But the Scythaloid is ethereal and can permeate through any surface or body. The only known threat to these creatures are Fashers. Once held, the Fasher will crush the Scythaloid, tossing it to the ground, where the Fasher will then slowly crawl over the carcass Scythaloid for its nutrients. The Bal is a large mass that gets pulled in by the Jeju's orbit. It runs into blow-up energy, which in turn grows life on its surface. The creatures on a Bal are evolutionarily designed to adapt so quickly that many of the creatures become unstable. We classify this sluggish creature as a loss. The loss's mobility is little to none. As it exists, half of it decays into a gas. Fas is constantly moving at high speeds to take in the abundance of energy that has been picked up by Bal. Eventually, the Bal moves so fast around the Jeju that everything on the Bal gets flown off into the center of Jeju to be recycled. The Bal gets flown back into orbit and slowly gets dragged into the center, once more making the system come full circle. Tubular is a world with many mysteries and researches to be conducted. But even if not knowing Tubular to its fullest extent, we can appreciate its beauty and welcome it to our universe.